Maid claims billionaire's last wish. Before I begin, I want you to listen closely. This is not just another story. This is a story that exposes how far greed can go, how love can grow in the darkest places, and how one dying wish can change an entire empire. If you've ever wondered what happens when the rich think they control destiny, if you've ever seen a family willing to destroy anyone standing between them and a billion-naira inheritance, then trust me, you don't want to miss a single second of this story, because what you're about to hear is the shocking tale of Chief William Collins, a billionaire whose final wish shook his mansion, shattered his family, and exposed betrayal like never before. Before I continue, please hit the subscribe button, so you don't miss more powerful stories like this. Now, let me take you inside the world of the millionaire's dying wish. The mansion loomed like a fortress against the Lagos skyline. Its walls reflected the early morning sun, and its gates were as tall as the whispers of wealth that swirled around the city. Inside, every marble floor, every golden handle, every crystal chandelier told the same story. Here lived a man who had everything, except one thing he desperately wanted. Chief William Collins, billionaire, real estate magnate, owner of more property than most Nigerians could dream of, and a man whose wealth was only matched by the emptiness of his heart. He had 5 daughters, Olivia, Emma, Amelia, Charlotte, and Sophia, each as beautiful as they were spoiled, each trained to survive in the ruthless game of life where money was the only measure of love. Yet none of them were the person he longed for, a son to carry his legacy, to bear the Collins name into the next generation. And time, cruel as it was running out. Mia arrived in the mansion that morning, clutching her bag tightly as she stepped out of the rickety taxi. Her shoes were old, her dress patched in several places, but her eyes, dark, determined, and sparkling with the kind of energy only someone who had survived life on the streets of Ajegunle could possess, revealed a heart that refused to be broken. She had come for a simple job. A job to feed her mother's illness, to keep her family afloat, to finally give herself a life where she wasn't always hungry, always pleading, always waiting. But she had no idea that this job would change her life forever. The gates of Collins' mansion opened slowly, as if sensing her timid uncertainty, and she stepped onto the pristine marble floor. The walls seemed to whisper, "You don't belong here." And yet she did. Or at least, that's what destiny seemed to have decided. As Mia walked through the hallway, her presence immediately drew attention. Olivia, the eldest, shot her a cold, assessing glance. Emma, ever the quiet observer, leaned against the staircase railing, lips curled into a slight smirk. Charlotte and Sophia whispered behind hands, while Amelia tried to peek, curiosity warring with fear. Deborah, their mother, appeared at the foot of the stairs, all silk and perfume, her heels clicking with authority. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, rested on Mia like a hawk measuring prey. "And you are?" Deborah asked, voice sweet enough to be deceptive. "Mia, ma," she replied softly, bowing slightly. I've come for the maid position." Deborah raised an eyebrow. "I see. Well, let's hope you survive the day. This household isn't kind to strangers." Mia swallowed nervously, but there was a fire in her chest. She had survived Ajegunle. She could survive this. Little did she know, surviving Collins' mansion would require more than courage. It would require cunning, patience, and the kind of loyalty that could either save her life or destroy it. Mia's first day was a whirlwind. Orders barked by the daughters, Deborah's piercing glares, and the constant reminders of her place in the hierarchy made her hands ache and her mind race. Yet, amidst all of this, one figure observed her differently. Chief William Collins. He wasn't supposed to be moving about much, the doctors had warned him to rest. Yet there he was, in the library, peering over the top of his glasses. And when he saw Mia, something in his eyes softened. Not a man used to being coddled, pampered, or flattered. No. This was a man who saw, for the first time in years, something genuine. Something human. Over the next few days, Mia found herself in subtle proximity to him. A tray of tea. A book dropped. A gentle, unassuming, "thank you," from the man himself. And with each interaction, a strange tension built, a bond that neither dared to name but both could feel growing stronger. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, casting long shadows across the Collins estate, William called Mia into the garden. The air was heavy, scented with roses and tension. "Mia," he began, voice low. "Sit. I want to speak with you." She obeyed, curiosity mingling with nervousness. "You're aware," he continued, "that my time is limited." Her heart jumped. I didn't know, sir." He sighed, eyes distant. "Doctors say months. Perhaps less. I've hidden it well, but the truth is unavoidable." Mia felt a chill. Here was a man who had everything: wealth, power, influence. Yet he feared the one thing no amount of money could buy: oblivion. "I have 5 daughters," he said slowly. "Beautiful, capable, but none of them are truly mine in the way I had hoped. None will carry my legacy as I wish. And yet, there is hope. You." Mia's hand froze on the bench. "Me?" she whispered. "Yes," he said, voice trembling with vulnerability. "You are honest. You are kind. You see me as a man, not a bank. And I trust you." A weight pressed on her chest. His trust was dangerous. His wealth was dangerous. And the desire in his eyes, it terrified her. Meanwhile, Emma had already noticed. From the staircase above, she observed every glance, every gesture between Mia and her father. She was silent, calculating, her mind moving faster than anyone else in the house. "She's dangerous," Emma whispered under her breath, tapping her chin thoughtfully. "She isn't just a maid. She's a threat. And threats are eliminated." Deborah, unaware of Emma's schemes but wary of Mia's growing confidence, began to watch her more closely. The daughters, each in their own way, tested Mia's patience, her courage, her loyalty. Every meal, every chore, every hallway became a battlefield, subtle, psychological, and deadly. Mia, however, had a secret weapon: her resilience. Every insult, every glare, every trap she narrowly escaped only made her more determined. Not just to survive, but to endure. To live. And perhaps, to protect the one person in that house who had shown her kindness: William Collins. By the end of the first week, Mia had begun to realize she was no ordinary maid. She wasn't just carrying trays. She wasn't just cleaning floors. She was carrying the weight of a dying man's heart, and perhaps the weight of the future itself. And she wasn't alone in noticing. Emma had planted the first seeds of her plan. Olivia whispered with Charlotte about the newcomer. Deborah's suspicions grew. Yet, in the quiet of the mansion's grand garden, William Collins waited. His eyes lingered on Mia with a mixture of desperation, hope, and something else, something neither of them dared name. And as Mia left the garden that evening, unaware of the eyes watching her from the shadows, a single thought consumed her mind. This house is dangerous. But so is what I might be about to become. And Mia's connection, and introducing the daughters plotting more intensely. The Collins mansion, usually a fortress of luxury and discipline, had become a maze for Mia. Every corridor seemed longer, every shadow deeper, every whisper sharper. By the second week of her employment, she had learned the rhythm of the house, the footsteps of Deborah echoing through the marble floors, the daughters' laughter that always carried a bite, and Chief William Collins' quiet sighs of exhaustion that haunted the evenings. It was in those quiet moments that Mia felt the gravity of the situation. Here she was, a poor girl from Ajegunle, in a house dripping with wealth and corruption, caught in the currents of power she barely understood. But she also felt something else, a connection she couldn't explain, a responsibility she hadn't asked for. One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, William called Mia to the private garden. The air was heavy, filled with the scent of jasmine and impending tension. "Mia," he began softly, "you've been here a week now. Do you understand how serious my situation is?" She nodded, heart pounding. "Yes, sir," I know you're unwell. He leaned on the marble railing, looking out at the city below. Unwell doesn't even cover it. The truth is, I'm dying. My time is limited. I don't have months, maybe weeks. Mia's chest tightened. She hadn't realized the full extent of his illness. He looked frail, yet his eyes burned with a life she had never imagined, one that refused to surrender. I don't know what to say, sir, she whispered. You don't need to say anything, he replied. Just listen. That's all I ask. My daughters, they love me, yes, but they love my money more. They wouldn't notice if I disappeared tomorrow. But you notice me as a person. Mia. That's why I trust you. Mia swallowed. Her hands shook slightly as she carried the tray of tea she had brought. I only do my job, sir, she said softly. No, he said firmly, turning to face her. It's more than that. You see me. And I see hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, someone can carry on what I cannot. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Mia felt a strange mixture of fear, empathy, and curiosity. And then he said the words that would forever change her life. I need a son, Mia. And I believe you can give me that. Her hands trembled so violently she almost dropped the tray. She blinked, trying to comprehend. You want me, to? Yes, he said quietly. Because you are honest. Because you are kind. And because you are the only person in this house who treats me like a human being. From the staircase above, Emma watched. She had been silently observing the entire conversation. Her lips curled into a thin, cold smile. She's already slipping into his confidence, she whispered to Olivia. And he's already trusting her with something personal. This is dangerous. Very dangerous. Olivia tapped her fingers on the railing. Then we make her regret it. Quickly. Before she becomes more than just a maid. Charlotte nodded. Step 1, isolate her. Step 2, threaten her. Step 3, watch her crumble. Mia, unaware, wiped the tears she hadn't realized she was holding. In that moment, she had no idea that her life had become a chessboard and that every move she made would be calculated, observed, and countered. That night, in her small room tucked away at the end of the servants' wing, Mia stared at the ceiling. The words echoed in her mind: a son. A dying man. A billionaire. Her conscience wrestled with logic, morality, and empathy. She thought of her mother, weak and coughing, depending on her. She thought of the life she could have if she stayed cautious, distant, and safe. But she also thought of William Collins, a man who had shown her genuine kindness in a house full of deceit. Her decision would shape not just her future, but the future of a child who didn't exist yet. Mia whispered to herself, God, what am I doing? Am I brave or just foolish? The next morning, Mia awoke to a subtle, unsettling change. Her closet had been rifled through. Her drawers slightly ajar. Her neatly folded clothes in disarray. She froze, realizing the danger she had stepped into. A small note lay on her bed. She unfolded it with trembling hands. In bold, chilling handwriting it read, Leave or regret it. Her stomach churned. Fear settled like a stone in her chest. Deborah's threat had escalated, or perhaps it was one of the daughters. Whoever it was, the message was clear. Her presence was no longer tolerated. Yet, amidst the fear, a quiet determination grew. Mia had survived Ajegunle, survived hunger, survived despair. She would survive this. Mia didn't have long to dwell on fear. That afternoon, she delivered a tray to William's office. He looked up, eyes softening when he saw her. Mia, I hear there are troubles. Threats. She nodded, unable to hide her worry. Yes, sir, someone doesn't want me here. He reached out, placing a comforting hand on hers. Don't worry. I will protect you. I will not allow anyone to harm you, not while I am alive. You are safe here with me. The sincerity in his voice brought tears to her eyes. In that instant, Mia realized she wasn't just a maid anymore. She was part of something larger, something dangerous, but something profoundly meaningful. Over the next few days, Mia's bond with William grew. She fetched books he had forgotten, adjusted his chair, and sometimes simply sat in silence beside him. The mansion, which had been filled with greed and tension, seemed quieter, softer when she was near him. William, too, began to reveal parts of himself, stories of his childhood, the struggles he endured to amass wealth, his regrets, and his fears. Mia listened, not judging, simply absorbing the essence of a man who had everything but love. Yet, the shadow of the daughter's plotting loomed large. Every smile they forced, every whispered consultation, every subtle threat reminded Mia that the mansion was no longer just a workplace. It was a battlefield. One evening, as Mia was returning from the kitchen with a tray of tea, she didn't notice Emma hiding in the shadows of the hallway. Emma had been listening. "She's the one," Emma whispered to herself. "The one who will take it all. And I will make sure she doesn't survive it." She recorded the conversation, every word, every subtle gesture, every moment of William's trust. "Phase 1 begins," Emma muttered. "Tonight she learns she is alone." As night fell, the mansion grew silent. Mia sat by the window, staring at the lights of Lagos below. Her thoughts raced. A son, a dying man, threats in the dark, the greed of the Collins daughters. Somewhere in the shadows, eyes watched her. Calculating, planning, waiting. And in her heart, Mia knew, the life she had chosen, the life she had stepped into, would demand more than courage. It would demand sacrifice. And the question lingered in the darkness. Would she survive the storm that was coming, or would the mansion that promised wealth and hope become her tomb? The walls seemed to whisper warnings to those who dared to cross them. Mia had barely slept. Her dreams had been haunted by shadows of the daughters lurking in the hallways, the echo of Deborah's sharp heels on marble floors, and the fearful knowledge that William Collins' health was deteriorating faster than anyone realized. She tried to shake the anxiety as she moved through her chores, but the weight of what was coming pressed down on her. She could feel it. Today, something would change her life forever. Late in the morning, Mia was summoned to the library. She stepped carefully, the polished floors reflecting her nervous expression. William Collins was seated at his grand desk, papers neatly stacked, his posture a mixture of frailty and authority. "Mia," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. His voice was calm, yet heavy with something unspoken. "Sit. We need to speak." Mia obeyed, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I've been thinking," William began, "about time, about legacy, about what I leave behind when I am gone." He paused, as if weighing every word. Mia's heart raced. "I am dying, Mia," he continued quietly. "Soon I will not be here. My daughters, they will inherit wealth, yes. But they will not remember me the way I want. They will see me only as an account, a number. That is not the legacy I wish to leave." Mia's breath caught. She had known he was ill, but hearing him say it out loud made her pulse quicken. "Sir? She started, but he raised a hand. "Please, just listen." He leaned forward, his eyes locking onto hers with a vulnerability that made her chest tighten. "I need someone to carry on my name, my bloodline. I need a son. And I believe you are the only person who can give me that." Mia recoiled slightly, shocked. "A son? Sir, I can't just..." He shook his head gently. "I am not asking for charity. I am asking for trust. You are honest. You are kind. You see me as a man, not as a wallet. I trust you, Mia. And that is why I am asking." Her mind raced. She had barely survived her first week in this house, and now she was being asked to undertake a responsibility that could alter the course of her entire life. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say yes," he said softly, "or say no. But whatever your answer, know this, you are the only person who can give me hope." Had been listening from behind the slightly ajar door. Her lips curled into a thin, cruel smile. "She knows everything now," she whispered to Olivia, who had joined her. The trust, the plan, everything. Olivia tapped her fingers thoughtfully. Then we strike before she can think. Before she can breathe. Before she can claim what is rightfully ours. Charlotte and Sophia nodded, while Amelia, the youngest, smirked. We don't need subtlety anymore. Let her feel the fear she deserves. That evening, Mia sat in her small room, staring at the ceiling. The weight of William's request pressed upon her. A son. A dying man. A legacy. And a house full of people who wanted to destroy her. Her hands trembled as she clutched the worn fabric of her dress. God, what am I supposed to do? This is too much, too fast. I'm just a maid. I'm just me. Yet beneath the fear, a spark of courage began to form. She had survived hunger, poverty, and violence. She had faced life in Ajegunle and walked out alive. Perhaps she could. Later that night, Mia was startled by the sound of movement outside her door. Someone was trying to open it. Her heart thumped in her chest as she grabbed the only thing she could use, a heavy book from the bedside table, and crept quietly toward the door. The handle turned slowly. She held her breath. A shadow slipped past, moving toward her bed. Mia swung the book instinctively. The intruder yelped and retreated. Mia switched on the small lamp by her bed and saw a piece of paper that had been shoved under the door. It read, "Leave now, or your life is not worth living." Mia sank to the floor, clutching the note to her chest. She realized in that instant that she was no longer just a maid. She was a target, a threat, and possibly the only hope for a dying man who had placed all his trust in her. The following morning, Mia delivered tea to William. He noticed her exhaustion and the lingering fear in her eyes. "Mia," he said gently, "I know threats have reached you. I am aware of the danger. But you must trust me. I will protect you. No one will harm you as long as I am alive. Not Deborah, not my daughters, no one." She looked into his eyes and saw sincerity, vulnerability, and a desperation she could not ignore. I will try, sir," she whispered. "But this is all so overwhelming." "You are stronger than you know," he said. "And the world needs people like you. People who see the truth in a house full of lies." Over the next few days, the mansion's air seemed to shift whenever Mia was near William. Their connection, subtle but profound, grew stronger. She listened to his stories, of childhood hardships, of lost friends, of regrets and triumphs. He, in turn, marveled at her resilience, intelligence, and the way she could bring light into even the darkest corners of the mansion. It was dangerous. It was forbidden. And yet neither could resist the bond that was forming between them. Meanwhile, upstairs, the 5 daughters convened in Olivia's room. Plans were whispered and devised, every word coded in malice. "We can't wait any longer," Olivia said coldly. "She's already taking him from us, from the legacy. Phase 2 begins tonight." Charlotte smirked. "We isolate her. We scare her. We show her she doesn't belong." Amelia nodded. "And if that fails," Emma whispered, "then we remove the problem entirely." Sophia leaned back, a gleam in her eyes. "And no one will know who did it." The daughters smiled at each other, their laughter cold and calculated. Mia had no idea that with every smile, every gesture of kindness she showed William, a storm was forming behind the mansion walls, waiting to engulf her. That night Mia returned to her room, exhausted and fearful. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow seemed to move with malice. She felt the weight of William's trust and the danger that surrounded her pressing down like a suffocating blanket. As she lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling, a single thought echoed in her mind. "I am not just a maid anymore. I am a target. And this house, this mansion, is full of secrets that could kill me." From the shadows outside, a figure watched. Eyes sharp, movements silent, intentions deadly. And somewhere, in the heart of the mansion, a man lay awake, his chest heavy with illness, hoping against hope that the girl he trusted could survive the storm he knew was coming. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth and power, now felt like a cage to Mia. Every step she took echoed too loudly, every glance seemed to be observed, and every breath carried the weight of unseen eyes. The previous night's note, "Leave now, or your life is not worth living," still burned in her mind. She had barely slept, haunted by shadows and imagined footsteps. But there was no turning back. Not now. She had seen the kindness in William Collins, a man whose entire life was steeped in gold and deception, yet who had entrusted her with his deepest desire. And that trust, that fragile, terrifying trust, became her anchor in a sea of fear. The next morning, Mia awoke early, determined to maintain her routine despite the tension. Breakfast in the Collins mansion was always a performance. The daughters sat in their usual seats, their smiles sweet but venomous, their eyes like daggers. Deborah presided over the table, sipping her tea with icy perfection, while Mia carried the food quietly, trying not to draw attention. But the attention found her. Olivia leaned over, voice soft and poisonous. "Such dedication for such a lowly position," she said, feigning sweetness. "Tell me, Mia, how long do you think you'll last here?" Mia's hands tightened around the tray. She swallowed her fear and forced a smile. "As long as I am needed, ma'am." Emma leaned back, eyes sharp, her smirk unwavering. "We'll see about that." Later, in his study, William looked pale and weak, the weight of his failing health visible in every gesture. Mia entered quietly, tray in hand, and noticed the tension etched into his face. "You look tired, sir," she said softly. He smiled faintly. "I've been thinking about legacy. About what I leave behind. And about you." Mia's heart skipped. "Me, sir?" "Yes," he said, leaning back in his chair. "You've shown courage, honesty, humanity. In a house full of greed, you are the only one who sees me as a man. That is why. I believe you are the only one who can help me achieve what I've long desired, a son, Mia." Her hands trembled. The request was heavier than ever, the stakes more intense. I don't know if I can, sir," she whispered. It's too much." He reached out, placing his hand gently over hers. "I know it is. But time is slipping away. I can't wait any longer. Not for myself, and not for what will come after me." The weight of his words pressed on her chest. She understood. His dying wish was no longer a request. It was a reality she had to face. That night, Mia was careful as she moved through the servants' wing. Every creak of the floorboards made her flinch. She had become hyper-aware of the mansion's every sound, every shadow. Suddenly, she heard it, a soft click outside her door. Someone was trying to enter. Heart pounding, she grabbed the heavy book she always kept nearby. The door handle turned slowly. Mia's mind raced. Was it one of the daughters? Deborah? Someone else? Before she could react further, a hand shot through the slightly open door, trying to snatch her. Mia swung the book instinctively. The intruder yelped and retreated into the shadows. On the floor lay a new note, written in hurried, angry handwriting. "One more step and you will regret it forever." Mia sank to the floor, clutching the note. Fear threatened to overwhelm her, but she took a deep breath and whispered, "I have survived worse. I will survive this." The next morning, Mia went to William's office to report the incident. He listened carefully, eyes narrowing with a mix of anger and concern. "Mia, you are in danger," he said firmly. "And I will not allow it to come to harm. Starting tonight, you will be under my protection. No one will touch you." She looked at him, fear mingling with gratitude. "Sir, thank you. But what about your daughters? They're the ones plotting against me." "They will not succeed," he replied. "Not while I am alive. Not while you are here. Trust me." Mia nodded, though the fear lingered. She understood now that the mansion was a battlefield, and she had entered it fully aware of the consequences. Meanwhile, the 5 daughters met in the upper hall. Olivia paced, furious. "She's growing too close to father," Olivia said, voice sharp. "If she gives him a child, she takes everything from us. From me. Emma nodded, eyes glinting with malice. We need to escalate. Threats haven't worked. Subtlety has failed. It's time to show her she does not belong. Charlotte smirked. And if fear fails? Then, Amelia whispered, we make her disappear. Sophia's eyes gleamed. Quietly. Carefully. No one will know. The daughter's laughter echoed through the hall, cold and merciless. The storm was coming, and Mia stood in its path, unaware of the danger closing in. That evening, Mia sat by her window, staring out at the city below. The neon lights flickered against the darkness, a reminder of the world beyond the mansion. She had fear, yes. And yet, she also had determination. She had survived Ajegunle. She had endured hunger, pain, and betrayal. And now, she would face the storm, no matter how deadly it became. I will not run, she whispered to herself. I will survive. I must. Unbeknownst to Mia, eyes watched her from the shadows. Emma had stationed herself near the servants' wing, recording every movement, every gesture. Olivia had enlisted a driver to monitor Mia's comings and goings. Even Deborah had taken to walking silently past Mia's room, pretending not to notice her presence, while plotting subtle psychological attacks. Every moment of peace Mia thought she had was an illusion. Every smile she offered William, every kind word she spoke, was now a spark in a room full of tinder. One wrong move, and the mansion's carefully constructed cruelty could engulf her completely. By the end of the week, Mia had learned a dangerous truth. Trust in the Collins mansion was a weapon, and survival required more than courage. It required strategy, resilience, and a strength she hadn't fully realized she possessed. As she lay in her small room that night, she thought of William Collins. His hope. His desperation. His dying wish. And she knew she could not abandon him. Yet in the darkness, a faint, sinister whisper floated through the mansion. She will not last. Not one more week. Not one more day. She will fall, and when she does, the Collins legacy will be ours. Mia shivered, realizing the stakes had never been higher. The mansion was no longer a home. It was a battlefield. And she was standing alone at its center, armed with nothing but courage, faith, and the fragile trust of a dying billionaire. The mansion was quieter than usual that night. Even the golden chandeliers, which had always gleamed with opulence, seemed dim, as if sensing the tension that had taken hold. Mia moved carefully through the halls, every step measured, every sound a potential threat. She could feel it. Tonight, everything would change. The daughters had escalated their schemes. Olivia, Emma, Charlotte, Amelia, and Sophia were united in a plan to remove her entirely. Fear was no longer subtle. It was sharp, deliberate, and calculated. As Mia entered the kitchen to fetch a late-night cup of tea for William, the lights flickered. A shadow moved across the hallway. Before she could react, the door slammed shut behind her, locking automatically. Panic surged. From the shadows, Olivia's voice hissed. End of the line, Maid. Tonight, your presence here will cost you everything. Emma stepped forward, holding a small, sharp object. You thought you could step into this house, take his trust, and survive? Think again. Mia's heart pounded. She had expected threats, whispered notes, and subtle intimidation. She had not expected this direct attack. But instinct took over. With quick thinking, she grabbed a nearby heavy pan and swung it. Emma staggered back, giving Mia the chance to kick the automatic door lock. The door clicked open. She didn't hesitate. She ran. In the library, William had sensed something was wrong. The house had grown too quiet. He stood, cane in hand, and hurried toward the kitchen. Mia burst through the door, nearly collapsing into his arms. Sir, they tried to, she gasped. Before she could finish, William saw the 5 daughters standing behind the counter, faces twisted with rage and malice. The confrontation that had been brewing for weeks finally erupted. Enough! William's voice thundered, stronger than it had in months. Mia is under my protection. Any harm that comes to her will be on your heads. The daughters froze. They were used to power, to manipulation, to their father's indulgence. They were not used to this. "Father," Olivia began, trying to sound calm. "We only—" "Silence!" William snapped. "I am dying, yes. But I am not blind. I am not deaf. And I will not watch my trust, my hope, be destroyed in my house." Mia stood trembling, heart pounding, but courage rising. This was the moment that would define her life. "Sir," she began, voice steady despite the fear. "I will help you. I will do what you asked. But only if you promise me one thing." William's eyes softened. "Anything. That you will protect me. That this child, if it comes, will be safe. That I am not alone in this house filled with deceit." He nodded, placing a hand over hers. "You are not alone. Not tonight, not ever." The daughters, realizing they could not intimidate either of them, backed down. Their fury was still there, but the control they wielded had been broken. Weeks passed, and William's health waned further. But amidst the tension, Mia's determination never faltered. She managed the household, cared for William, and navigated the dangerous subtleties of the daughters' plotting. Finally, the day came. Mia gave birth to a baby boy, a son for William Collins, the fulfillment of his dying wish. The moment was bittersweet. William, weak but alive, held his son for the first time. Tears filled his eyes, mixing joy, pride, and relief. "Thank you, Mia," he whispered. "You gave me more than I could have imagined. You gave me hope. You gave me legacy." Mia held the baby gently, smiling through tears. "It was my choice, sir. And I will protect him. Always." The 5 daughters, humiliated and defeated, retreated to the upper floors. They had underestimated Mia's courage, William's resolve, and the bond between them. For the first time, the power in the mansion had shifted. Deborah, witnessing the outcome, felt a pang of regret. She had misjudged the girl from Ajegunle, the maid she had thought was insignificant. But it was too late. Mia had proven herself. She had survived the storm and emerged stronger. In the quiet of the mansion's garden, Mia watched William rocking his son gently. The city lights twinkled in the distance, a stark contrast to the shadows they had overcome. William turned to her, weak but smiling. "Mia, you have given me peace. You have given me joy in the face of darkness. My daughters, the threats, none of it matters anymore. You are my hope." Mia, overwhelmed by emotion, simply nodded. "I only did what I had to, sir. I only did what was right." In that moment, the mansion was no longer a battleground. It was a sanctuary. A place where trust, courage, and love had conquered greed and betrayal. Even as peace settled, a lingering thought remained: life would never be simple. The mansion had scars, the daughters had pride, and the world beyond would continue to challenge them. But for now, they had survived. Mia knew that her journey was just beginning. She had proven her strength, her intelligence, and her loyalty. And in return, she had been given something priceless: a purpose, a family she chose, and the respect of a man who had placed his dying wish in her hands. If you believe Mia, a girl from nothing, who faced fear, betrayal, and the impossible, truly showed courage, compassion, and wisdom. If you believe she overcame darkness, navigated danger, and protected hope, don't you think she deserves a like? Don't you think she deserves your subscription? Because her story reminds us that bravery isn't about wealth, status, or power. It's about heart, determination, and the choices we make when no one is watching. Or perhaps, if your heart goes to William Collins, a man who had everything but love, who trusted in the one person who saw him as more than a name or fortune. Don't you think he deserves to be remembered? Don't you think his story of hope, legacy, and trust deserves your subscription? Support the story. Support the courage. Support the legacy.